Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon, and Sergeant Bill Cannon was supposed to be live here with us tonight, but unfortunately, Bill, as we all know, has a little bit of AFib, a little bit of a irregular heartbeat, and he went and got it corrected. But his wife called me and he texted me tonight that he had to go to the emergency room, but he is okay. He's going to be all right. No need to worry, but he is not going to be live with myself and Candice Cooley tonight. It's just going to be myself and Candice. We are going to be talking about Dylan Rounds. This is the young man who went missing from Utah and Lucin the 28th of May, Memorial Day weekend. And here we are, just a few short days away from 3 months. And not only that, we're going to be looking at the close of summer coming up, Labor Day weekend. And, you know, we're no closer to getting answers as we were on day one here into the third month. Guys and girls, I want to say thank you to all the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who positively engage in this community. You guys are what makes this a great place with your responsible, respectful, and awesome questions that you ask of myself and Ed Wallace and all of our guests that we have on here. So I want to say a special thanks and tip my cap to each and every one of you for being top-notch, classy people. And that's what makes this a great place. So I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you for all the good that you do on all of these cases, not just Dylan Rounds. Every case that we cover, each and every one of them, we respect the victims and their families. And that's what this is all about. If you get involved and you see other people doing toxic things, this is not the place to come. So I want to say again, congratulations and thank you to each and every one of you guys and girls who come here and truly want to help these victims that go missing, and that sometimes, more than a few times, they turn up to be murder investigations. So thank you to you guys. Before we get into it, I wanted to play, this afternoon I played a little piece of this Nate Eaton East Idaho News. We're going to talk specifically tonight, and I have 2 pages of questions. I have this one and then a full other page, and I got stuff on the back. So we have a ton of user-generated questions that came into DutyRon.com. And, tonight we're going to touch on Box Elder, the investigation that has happened from the beginning and the lack thereof. And we are going to talk with Dylan's mom. And we're going to have a respectful conversation. This is not an interview or an interrogation. This is a conversation about facts, about what's happening in this case from the family, not from some jagaloon. And let me go to the sign, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go to this. This is not happening here, okay? This is going to be facts from the family. And that's what you get on Crime Time with DutyRon. So let me just play this little piece here for East Idaho News. And this is our good friend, Nate Eaton. He is just a great reporter. He goes out and gets the answers to the questions. So let's listen in. We're not going to play the whole thing, but we'll listen in quickly.
Focus turned to going into month 3.
Getting a new law enforcement lead agency in Dylan's case. That's where we feel we're at.
So let's set it up. Law enforcement, the lead agency has been the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office in Utah. Dylan disappeared. If you're just tuning into the story, he was living and farming out near the Utah-Nevada border and in Box Elder County, and they began investigating when he first disappeared. And frustrations have been building on your family's behalf over the past, kind of since the beginning. Am I right to say that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So walk me through what some of those frustrations have been.
So when we first got out there on May 28th, day one, everybody knows we find Dylan's boots. Justin and I go out and we look at them, and clearly they're Dylan's boots. Neither one of us had any doubt in our mind. They were thrown on the back of one of their side-by-sides, and the search just continued like nothing out of the ordinary. So as time went on, search and rescue, they stayed the first night. They came back the next day at about 7 a.m. They searched until about 2:30, probably 3 o'clock. They were actually stationed on the property that Brenner was squatting on, and we were told we're going to move base to Lucin Pond because we're irritating Brenner. Now, part of what people need to know is Brenner had an arrest warrant at this time. Yes. Box Elder County knew this. He could have been arrested day one. I believe it would have been the 10th. It was the day I was in Elko. I believe it was June 10th. They finally arrested him on that warrant. So you have a violent criminal who we now know. So, you know, he's got an attempted murder charge. He's got all this stuff. He's got a warrant. You have a missing 19-year-old. It's all within 100 yards of each other. And you don't even think to, well, let's go ahead and execute this warrant because we can take this guy to jail right now.
James Brenner was squatting on property near where Dylan was.
Yeah.
And has an extensive criminal history, violent crimes. And you're saying when the cops first went in there, when you guys first reported Dylan missing, they should have done something with James Brenner.
Yes. Yes.
But they waited 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then even when they finally did, he was out the next day and they still never searched his property. So Dylan's boots are found. The next day, Lucin Pond, they move out because they don't want to, you know, annoy Brenner. They did not just move base. They just pulled out. They were done. I mean, 4 or 5 guys stuck around that really helped.
Yeah, a few of those guys came out a lot. And
yeah,
did a really good job.
There was some that were
rescue.
Great. So that was the day, Tuesday, that we got the phone call that Dylan was being held hostage in Montello. And so we all took off. Part of the Box Elder County sheriffs and a few of the search and rescue guys were standing at the pond. We stopped to give them a flashlight battery back that they'd loaned us the night before, told them what was going on, and I was told good luck with that.
Who told you that?
One of the sheriffs. I don't know which one it was, but those were the exact words I got, was good luck with that.
When you mentioned that your son was being held hostage,
yes,
the deputy said good luck with that.
And then Justin had to call him, and I'll let you tell him about your conversation with Blower.
Well, I just called and told him I was going to do something if they didn't show up, and had him give me his word that he would get a hold of Elko to get them to come. And then they said they'd come, and we waited. I gave them a little bit of time before I went into the house myself, and they ended up showing up. And
the house where you were told Dylan was.
Yeah.
So you called Box Elder and said, you better get out here or I'm going to do something myself.
Right.
To make sure Elko comes.
Well, Box Elder did not ever end up coming, nor did they end up calling Elko. I called 911 and we got Elko out there. When Elko came out, they came out with 6 deputies. And they waited till they all got there because they weren't aware of the current situation. So I make a 911 call and say, you know, our son, we found him. They have no clue who or what we were talking about because Box Elder never called.
So Dylan obviously wasn't in that house.
No.
So that was one frustration. And then there's been a few more.
Yeah. So moving forward, so now that Box Elder released it on NamUs, we all know, yes, the key fob did come back.
So let's talk about that. There was a key fob that originally was not in Dylan's truck when you guys searched it.
Yes.
Correct. It wasn't anywhere. We couldn't get it in his pickup.
This was the key fob to his truck to get it started. So then it appeared.
Right. In his camp trailer.
How do you know the time frame?
When we were in Montello at the supposed Dylan's kidnapping.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. I think that's enough. I want Candice to come on and talk with us about this. She's going to walk us through it. So without further ado, I want each and every one of you guys to give a warm welcome to our guest, Candice Cooley. This is Dylan Round's mom. Candice, thank you for taking out the time of your busy schedule to come on to Crime Time with DutyRon. We really appreciate you coming here.
You're welcome. I appreciate you guys having us and all the support we get from your community.
Yeah, you know, some of the folks here in this community continuously message me and email me about your son on a regular basis. And these are some of the most engaged people who not only care about what happened to your son, but have your back. So, you know, when I hear you talk with Nate, and this was just 2 days ago, I was infuriated when I first heard it. But can you just walk? I mean, I know that was a kind of a control interview. We're here now. Can you just talk a little bit about the key fob and NamUs? That is just unbelievable how that happened.
That was huge. We were told when the key fob came back to absolutely not let this out, and I understand why, because if the person's out there who did this or did something or made Dylan disappear, and as a family we raise suspicion, or as law enforcement, like, we just kind of played it off like we found it, or it was the one the grandmother brought back, which the grandma did bring one back.
Right, it was a small one, right? An extra one.
It was a pink one.
Okay.
It was one she had gotten an extra one for Dylan. So we did, and you guys have all heard me dispute the key fob in interview after interview after interview, and the reason for that is because we never want to jeopardize finding Dylan. So I started hearing stuff from different YouTuber channels, and we're going to clarify this right now because I've wanted to do this with you, Ron. Is
okay.
When I say the YouTubers, I'm talking about the people out there talking garbage. As far as I'm concerned, with DutyRon, it's a platform, and it's a platform of great people. So we had all these YouTubers out trying to make money off of our son's disappearance, say, no, she's lying. Law enforcement released a statement. So I contacted Box Elder County, I emailed them, and I said, has there been any reports, anything about the key fob, anything? And I got an email back, and it said, no, absolutely not. We have not reported anywhere. Nothing's been made public. And then I had a person send me the NamUs report. When I got the NamUs report and it was public, I got back a hold of them, and I was basically told this was made by mistake, and the detective who made it thought he was doing it for law enforcement only. So that was a huge thing that we have kept close, like all the other things that we know we have to keep close. And so when it came out, it was so discrediting to the family.
Right. Well, here you are abiding by what they were telling you.
Correct.
Hey, we don't want this to get out. And then the very agency who's tasked with investigating what happened to your son is now leaking out the information that you were trying to hold back from news reporters like Nate Eaton. You've been on so many different news shows to get the word out about your son, and you're holding this back in. It had to have been infuriating, not only for you, but for Dylan's dad and the rest of the family.
Yeah, it was just a slap in the face. And then to get the reason for it that I got in the email was absolutely, it was basically just, we don't even know, we didn't know what we were doing.
Hey, Ken, I want to get to this before it goes away. Miss Jeanne says, she sends in a super chat. She says, hey, does Candice have any idea who brought the key fob back? ? Any fingerprints? You can either answer that or not, but
so whether or not there was fingerprints, I do not know. I do know it has been at the lab. But it's, as I said on the Nate Eaton interview, and I will not hold back on that, there was 2 people out on that farm that day when we weren't there that were around, and that was Jim and Don. And I've said that from the beginning, that those were the only 2 people that were out there alone since we got there. I said it in Nate's interview, and I will stand by it. It's not like it's a high traffic zone. You don't have a lot of people out there.
Yeah, there's 50 people in officially residing in Lucin. So there is not a whole bunch of people to interview.
Yeah, I don't know what they consider the boundaries for Lucin, but I can tell you within the immediate area of Dylan, there's 3 neighbors on the other side. There's where Don was, there's where Jim was, and I know there's a guy up in the hill and a couple behind him. As far as 50 people, I don't know. I've never seen.
I got that number from the Census Bureau.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's how many people own property, but there's not that many people around Dylan.
I got you. Matt Parsons, thank you for the super chat. No questions coming in, but 2 times from Matthew Parsons. There's so many great questions in the chat. I'm going to ask you guys to hold it to the end. But I do want to say and acknowledge some of the great people in here, like Dr. Ed Moskowitz from Pocatello, Idaho. Dr. Ed and Julie, you guys are wonderful, and thank you for giving Ed some advice on his cough. He's in Iraq right now doing some Army training. He's teaching a class for weapons of mass destruction. for the Iraqi military. And Ed is over there. He's got some kind of cough, and Dr. Ed got right on the phone and gave him a consultation from Pocatello, Idaho to Iraq. So Herbal Iraq is where Ed is. Vet Girl, thank you so much for being here. All the moderators and all the folks who are always positively engaged, and you guys are awesome. We appreciate you. I know Candice and her entire family, both the Rounds and the Cooley family, they really do appreciate the support. And on Facebook, in the groups, and some of the great people that I know you are engaging with Jazz and things of that nature, and putting together a lot of awareness. You guys are invaluable. As far as the white noise that's out there, I mean, the best course of action is just to stay away from that toxic stuff. Wilesy Pony sends in a $50 super chat. Says, thank you, DutyRon, for helping Candice. It's not about just helping Candice. It's about helping families across the globe. This is not just an exclusive thing. This is, I had a phone call with Rayanne Carley, Cassie Carley's sister. We all know what happened to her. She's no longer with us. She went to do a custody exchange in Navarre Beach in Florida, and she wound up dead in Alabama. Her sister called me today and asked me if I could help her with communication with the medical examiner's office over in Alabama. So I keep in contact with all of these people, and they become part of my family. And that's what, sometimes you look at bad situations and good things come of them. These are some of the takeaways that you get, and you check it off on the positive list. But there's also obviously the negatives. There's always upsides and downsides to social media. But we know that we're grown-ups here. We can take it. So the bottom line is that we have to push forward. I wanted to ask you quick. So, the communication you said from the get-go was kind of a little bit off-putting to you, and to Dylan's father. What was the line of communications going forward after you reported him missing? What kind of interviews were done with you and your immediate family, if any? What kind of interviews were done with your extended family? I'm talking about aunts, uncles, cousins, friends of the family, people who lived in that general vicinity where your son's farm was. We heard Mike King from Profiling Evil say that he went and visited a homestead that was just maybe a mile away from Dylan, and they were like, nobody's come around to us. Could you talk a little bit about that and what went on there?
So nobody was formally interviewed. Not myself, not my husband, not Justin, not Dylan's grandparents, my sister. We were all there. Nobody was interviewed. To this day, we have still not been sat down and interviewed. None of us, not a single one of us. And like I said, once the FBI started assisting, we talk with them a lot, and they ask questions. But as far as Box Elder, none of us were interviewed. They didn't interview Jim. They didn't interview Don. They didn't interview the neighbors that are just 5 miles away too. And I'll leave their names out. But no formal interviews. They did. I believe it was the Friday or Saturday night, and I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it was Saturday. They did finally go interview Kurt Wadsworth at the park. A week later. But as far as that's it. We were basically left in the desert alone, and no interviews and no suspicion. It was just, we were so desperate, and we were so. I can't even explain what we were trying to find Dylan, and we just never took the time to stop and think, why aren't they talking to us? We look back on it now, and it's like, wow, I have so many of, I should have, I could have brought in more help in the beginning, but I'm not a detective. I was a desperate mother. Justin was a desperate father. We had a desperate family out there looking for Dylan.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have had to worry about whether, and now, like I said, we look back on it and it's like, wow, all of this should have been done the second we found Dylan's boots.
I agree. And you know what? You're not supposed to be an expert at searching for not only your son, but any missing people. You just don't know what to do. Sherilyn Schofner is a member for over 11 months, and she says, Candice, you're moving mountains. keep up the great work at Candice Cooley. Thank you for that. Hey, I was really frustrated with what you said to Nate about Box Elder wanting to accommodate, and I think words you use is they were upsetting Jim Brenner.
Correct.
What the is that? What is that?
Yeah. Okay. So that's so that Tuesday, the 31st, that's what we were told by search and rescue before we got the phone call about being held hostage, which, was complete crap. But yeah, so they told us they were going to move their operation headquarters to the Lucin Pond because they were irritating Brenner, who was squatting on the property.
Who had a warrant?
Yes. Who also, so at this time, I don't know if Karen had gotten the letter yet. I'd have to look back through the email, but Karen, she talked to the property owner, and we had a letter for law enforcement that said anybody assisting in the search of Dylan Rounds. I mean, it was everything. It was this whole legal description. It was everything. Like, you have full access to this property, but we have to move out for a violent criminal squatter because we're irritating him.
Right. And was he on your list of suspects, like, immediately? Because I know that he was known to your family. It's not like this guy is some kind of stranger at night.
It's one of those deals where it's like I say, he's an odd duck. He lived in my backyard too, and I've said that when Dylan was taking down his pivot. I mean, we've had friends that seen him, that knew he was here. It was nothing that ever made my hair on the back of my neck stand up. It was nothing until Mike and I arrived on the scene, and then everybody else started rolling in, and to hear Brenner sit there and say, I had to move the grain truck. I had to move the grain truck. I had to be in the grain truck. And I mean, it was so adamant, and it was really odd. But like I said, once again, we were in this desperation. And I mean, he told the Box Elder County Sheriff's the 2 deputies that were out there, like, he was so adamant that they knew he had to get in and move Dylan's grain truck. And it was all just dismissed. And it, as a family and as parents, it took us until when we finally left the desert that Sunday, June 5th. And it took next week we kind of started putting together pieces, going through everything that was happening, looking back on everything. And that's when we started screaming, because at that point we're like, wow, why aren't we getting help? For a week we have desperately searched for our son. We've really had no help. Like I said, Weber County did an amazing job, but we were basically left out there. We had no help with the initial search, where we had 350 people out there. We had no guidance for law enforcement. We had nothing.
Yeah.
So it took us a little bit of leaving the area for a minute, taking a deep breath, and having to take in, like, you almost feel crazy. Like, is this actually happening? Is this actually what we're going through? And not only that, are we actually not getting help? So it takes some time to get your head on your shoulders and be like, no, we need the help. You are paid to protect and serve, and It's a job you choose, so you need to do it.
Like Dylan's dad said in that interview, he said that we were just trusting that they were doing the right thing. Yep. And again, you don't have experience with law enforcement and how they conduct their investigations. You don't want to have to tell them how to do their investigations. You would think that they know how to do it. Yep. You said early on the sheriff over at Box, his wife contacted you, and Ed Wallace and I, that was the first time you appeared on this program. And when you came on the show and you told Ed and I that, Ed interrupted me and he said to you, do you have an attorney?
Right.
I say this still here, fast forward 3 months later, you definitely need an attorney to guide you on what's right and wrong, because right now we have a whole bowl of wrong going on. Do you feel that call for your son, the false call that he was being held in outside that area, what was that, Montello, right? In a house. Do you think that was a diversionary tactic for someone to get that key fob back into, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I mean, it just sounds like that to me.
So I'm going to tell you what my honest feelings are, and looking back on it, When we got that call, Justin had just left Montello announcing the $20,000 reward. Everybody was pointing their fingers at Chase. Kurt knew Chase.
Right?
So all of this kind of came together. So it went from the first phone call and the first 2 voicemails I got to somebody, well, Robert called him specifically and said he had given Chase a ride. And with Dylan was being held hostage, to turned into a psychic once so many sheriffs came up. So I feel, and that doesn't mean it's right, but I'm just going to say I feel it was a reward chase. I feel that the community thought that Chase was involved, and then you throw up this $20,000 reward, which, you know, it sounds like a lot, and to some people it is, but, you know, it was a starting point. And then he gets back to town, and as soon as he gets back to town and finds out there's a reward, that's the phone call we get. And he was out there helping us that day. He was out there helping us drain the pond. He came out and got his backhoe started because it's very temperamental, and he was helping us drain the pond. He got back to town, there's a reward, and boom, there's the phone call.
Wow.
So whether or not that's right, I'm just telling you, as a mother, that is how I feel. I do not feel it was a diversion.
I got you. All right. Yeah, no, I had to ask that question.
Yeah.
Have courage, be kind. Thank you for the super chat. She says, love and prayers always to you and all that love Dylan, that he is home soon with a heart and a prayer. Amen to that. Have courage. Thank you for that. And thank you to the Joy Catcher for becoming a channel member back again. Thank you, Lucretia. Always a pleasure to have you here. You know, there's so much to this. I just don't want to go, you know, step by step. I want you to talk about what happened after you gave this interview with Nate Eaton, because I questioned in my own mind. I said, you know, if I was the investigating authority, if I was the sheriff and someone was calling me out like the way you did, you basically, with, you know, the media, the help of the media, which, you know, is great. That's a great way to get your message out. Justin, you know, Dylan's dad, and yourself went on there and you spoke clearly and concisely about what was going on. It was clear and transparent. There was many failures. Was there any contact? Because Nate said that he tried to contact the public information officer or anybody from that area, and the you know, the sheriff's department, and also the other guy. What was his name? Marcos, one of the other reporters, right? They've been continually trying to reach out to Box Elder. Was there anybody reach out to you, or is any kind of olive branch extended to you and your family?
So we have finally had an olive branch as of yesterday, and we accepted it. So we are going to go meet with Box Elder County on Monday and go sit down with them. I'm glad they put that branch out there.
Yeah.
I'm very disturbed at the steps we've had to take to get that branch. I mean, the thousands of phone calls and emails they got when we put that out on Facebook, because I really expected, when I first sent the email on Monday was the 15th of August, so 10 days ago.
Right.
I really expect, like, just hand the case over. If you don't want anything to do with it, if you're not going to actively speak with me, if you're not going to actively communicate with me, why are you hanging on to this case? I can say I haven't spoke with them personally. It was a reach out via another department.
Right.
But we're going to take that branch and we're going to go meet with them. Justin and I are, and we're still going to stand on wanting it turned over. And even if not completely turned over, at least let's bring in the state of Utah. Let's get some more help, because things are not progressing. And if they were progressing, why aren't you talking to me and telling me, hey, Candice, we found some stuff. Hey, Justin, we do have a bunch of stuff we're working on. Hey, we have all this, and we've been out there gathering evidence, and we're out there working on this. We just can't tell you. Like, we haven't even had that communication with them. They've left it all up to the FBI agent. Like I said, he's been great, but his hands are tied. He's not lead.
Right.
He can never be lead because it's not a federal case.
Exactly.
But
I think this is definitely a good step in the right direction to open up communication. And like you said, you have stated this many other times to me and privately and also in the public. You're not looking for the open case file. You don't want to look at what they got because you don't want to taint any evidence that they have. Look, if Jim Brenner is going to be charged ultimately with what happened to Dylan and his demise, then the last thing you want to do is leak out information. And I know I don't have to tell you that, but there's people in the chat saying, "Oh, you should record the conversation. You should bring an attorney." These are things that I talk to you about, not the recording part, but having an attorney there or some type of representative. I wouldn't even trust the victim's advocate. I would have my own attorney.
Well, and I stated that, on Nate's interview that, I've had many people tell me, hey, they have a victim's advocate. Well, I haven't been able to trust the department as a whole, and the victim's advocate is part of the department. So that
most victims advocates work for the court system, which the sheriff and everyone are pretty, in these smaller towns are friendly with. The victims advocate office here in New York City, there's like one in every borough. They don't even talk to the police department. So it's different. The whole dynamic is different over there. And I don't even have any knowledge of it. So most of the times victims advocate are separate. They separate themselves from the police department. They're civilians that work doing, that advocacy, being the bridge between. But nobody even told you that you were afforded something like that. You didn't even know it. Ed and I mentioned it to you,
Hey, I want to answer this question real quick. I just seen come up on the chat. So we have had a private group of people. They have been down in all the mines that you can get down into. They have all the proper equipment. They have been through all the caves. They have sent us detailed maps, pictures, GPS coordinates, the maps they got from the mines. Like, these people have been amazing. They don't want any attention. They've been out there. They've done it all on their own, stayed in contact. I have sent all this to Box Elder. I have emailed them every time this individual has sent me all the information, and I never have gotten acknowledgement from Box Elder. They even received the emails. I never even get an acknowledgement.
Wow.
Like, these people have truly, we met with the one gentleman the day we were out there on June 16th that he's like, well, I really want to go down in some of these mines, but I couldn't get the proper O2 sensor. These guys, they're rappelling down mines, all that. And that's all on their own. And I send these detailed reports. They're amazing reports. And these people have taken so much time out of their personal lives to try to find Dylan. I send all the reports. I don't even get we received this and we'll put it in the case file. I have gotten no response, not even an acknowledgement of what I've sent them.
That's mind blowing. Could you answer this one? DutyRon, why did Brenner say he needed to move the grain truck? ? Is she suspicious of Don helping Brenner at all? ? Thank you, Ann, for that question.
So Brenner said he had to move the grain truck because Dylan backed it in too far and hit one of his horse gates. That was what he told us.
Okay.
As far as Don being a suspect, and I'm going to say it again, I don't believe Don would hurt Dylan. I truly don't. But I also don't believe you could be there that close. You can be with Brenner the same day. You can be supposedly going out to Dylan's camper the next day with Brenner and looking for him, and then turn around a month and a half later and hide his guns for him and not know anything. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I think everybody in that inner circle, 3-4 people, maybe more, they all have knowledge of what happened. And, because they're not coming forward, two of them were in, well, the second piece, is he still in jail or is he out?
No, both Chase and.
Oh, yeah. So you have two pieces in jail. You have one that's out there and maybe an additional one. Listen, we're getting into areas where, this is the job of investigators. And unfortunately, you don't have the confidence that they could be doing this stuff, but they're not even telling you, hey, listen, ma'am, we're onto something here. You need to give us some time.
Right.
We'll let you know when we're getting close, but we're either, working actively on this thing, or this is what's, no details. You don't want that. You don't want those details, but they're not even giving you anything. They're not even like saying, hey, we're still actively working this case. You don't even know if they're considering it a cold case, which, I don't think that that's the case. But, it's crazy when you get shut down and you get pretty much, ghosted by law enforcement. That's a shocker. You expect that from, boyfriend, girlfriend, somebody who's,
It is such a lost, hopeless feeling.
yeah, you can't fix it.
You don't even know where to go. Turn your TV down. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, you don't know where to go. You don't know. I feel like, and I know Justin does, and I know the family does, and everybody involved, like we feel like we're in the wrong, or we're crazy, or is this actually happening? Like, is this actually, like, I have my witching hours in the middle of the night, and I wake up at 1 to 2 in the morning, and I just lay there and I think about it, like, am I seriously living this?
Yeah.
And everything I'm saying that's coming out of my mouth, like, I gotta remind myself that, yes, you're living it. This is actually happening.
Yeah, it's a nightmare that just doesn't go away. Is
Yeah,
the way I see it.
wake
Yeah.
up every morning.
Did you ever receive any word about Dylan's cell phone, or do you have any knowledge of that, the cell phone?
Just what we cloned on it, and just what I know, the FBI has some different technology that Box Elder doesn't, that they got some information on it. But as far as like text messages or phone calls or anything out of the ordinary, no, everything was right. Tractor pictures, text mom, text dad, text grandma, everything was right how it should have been.
So there was nothing off-putting about it, like, oh, somebody following me, or I feel like I'm unsafe.
Nope.
Danny sends in a super chat, and she says, what does Candice think and family think of all these YouTubers making money off of the Dylan case? Does it bother her as a mama? That's a good question.
Yeah, so I think it's absolutely disgusting. And I think people should be ashamed of themselves. And that's, like we cleared up earlier, when I refer to YouTubers, there's platforms that are good, but these people that are going out there, and it's just like the people that have been out on Dylan's farm. And Justin and I both stated, we're going to start pressing charges. We have not asked for that. We don't want you out there. We just want to bring our son home. But these people who make this, as you say, white noise and this circus, and then the people who watch it are just as bad. Like, people should be ashamed of themselves. Flip it. If the shoe was on the other foot and it was your child, and I'm out there watching it, and I'm out there buying into all this garbage, and I'm out there supporting these people who all they want to do is make a living off of YouTube and spread disgusting lies, and like I said, they should be ashamed of themselves.
I agree. The thing
not let it bother me.
Yeah. The thing of it is that, the internet's always going to be there, and people are going to always, you're not the first, you won't be the last. This is what goes on. But the bottom line is that there is a respectful way to speak about and get the story of Dylan being, going missing in a respectful way. And then there's, like you said, there's the crazy conspiracy theories. There's things that, people are attacking your family. I don't see where that can be constructive in helping. A Wild Pony sends in a question. She says, please tell us what we can do to help Candice.
Awareness. We keep Dylan's name out there and we bring him home. Absolute awareness is what we need. Right. We need Dylan's name to not fade away of the 19-year-old on a billboard or on a missing, we keep law enforcement, we keep pressure on them, we keep pushing forward, and awareness throughout the public and the media is the only thing that will keep the pressure on.
Yeah. And you're doing a fantastic job. I mean, as far as me looking at it as from a parent's point of view, and I know that the people in the chat feel similar, a lot of people would clam up and like just roll up into a ball and just cry and rock in a rocking chair or whatever. You're kind of screaming from the rooftops, and you're actually trying to keep these investigating authorities accountable. And you have some great connections with the state, local, and federals, in different areas. And that's what's keeping you going, is the support that you're getting from the people who are really trying to do good here. And you're not the only family that comes up against this across America. It's sad, but true. I have Twila Cisco that's the search coordinator of EquiSearch Midwest. Now, she's joined us in the past to talk about this case, and she's through her drone operators assisted early on in this case. I know, Candice, you guys speak every once in a while.
Yep.
Twila is like an angel. She is unbelievable. Miss Gian says, is law enforcement looking actively for Dylan? Are they looking at other suspects, or did they identify Brenner as the one and only and stop there? Good question. Thank you for that.
So from what I know, once again, this being the problem, is I know back in July, they gathered some more evidence and took it to the lab. That was the last email I got, July 20th. If they've been out there actively looking, I mean, we know that Elko executed the one search warrant a couple Mondays ago. But other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't.
This is a problem. I can't answer these questions because I don't have the communication. So I don't know. Have they had search and rescue back out there? Not that I know. Have they stopped at Brenner and said he's the only one? We're not looking at anybody else? I don't know.
I'm going to ask you this one question, and that's sad. It's sad, but true. We're going to bring Twila on right after I ask you this question. And this is coming from me, and also I've seen this around on Facebook in some of the groups and just common questions. But this one is a pretty valid question. You were early on with the 300 people out there searching. You were, like you said, left alone in the middle of the desert. That has come to a screeching halt. And you guys also made that plea to people to stop coming around and stop searching through properties. Why have you and Dylan's father and other people not been out there, not handing out flyers, at least that I have seen? You might be doing that. I don't know. But I want to ask that of you. Is there a reason behind it? Is it because you're not communicating with law enforcement? You don't know what's going on because you're in limbo? Could you just please answer that question?
So first of all, people have got to realize that is such a small area. Everybody knows. Everybody who's in the town of Montello, everybody who's in the area of Grouse Creek, and the few people that are actually in Lucin, that has all been done. All these people are aware. They know. We have taken it to more of the internet media and the being able to electronically get things done, because people forget we have 2 other kids. We cannot shove them aside and say we're going to drive to Box Elder County every day and we're going to hand out flyers, because what happened to Dylan didn't happen in Box Elder County. I mean, not in Brigham City, not, it happened in Box Elder County, but everybody right where it happened is fully 100% aware. I'm still in touch. Justin's still in touch with locals from Montello on a daily basis. There are people, everybody's got their eyes peeled. With us wanting people to stay off of his farm and stay off of the other guy's property is because we're still holding hope that something was missed, and when another law enforcement agency or fresh eyes get on it, they could find that one little piece of evidence that you get people out there filming saying, oh, we're out here looking for Dylan on YouTube. No, you're not. You're out there taking videos, driving over everything. You're not even looking at the ground. You're saying, oh, well, here's where Dylan's camper was, and here's Dylan's tractor that's still out here, and here's his fuel tank. We know that. Mm-hmm. We absolutely know that. That is of no help of looking for Dylan. We beat that desert for 2 weeks. Justin stayed out there. I came back to the internet side of things and started getting media involved and started getting help. Justin stayed out there for, he rented a hotel room in Wendover for, I think, 6 weeks. We were there, but nothing was happening.
Yeah, it's insanity. And again, I wanted to ask you that question because it is a redundant question that keeps getting asked. I get it on DutyRon.com at least 5 times a day. Or, why isn't anybody out there searching? Why isn't there not search parties? Why, we saw a helicopter from the Heavy D Sparks. We saw lots of action, and now it seems like there's no action.
We had over, I think we had 6 or 7, I think it was 6 choppers out there. Weber County did bring theirs out. When Box Elder came back out the one weekend, they brought the state chopper out. We
Yeah.
searched out there with Elko. We had, I mean, it was June 12th when I left that Sunday, and Justin stayed down there. He stayed on the ground, and that's when I really started pushing with the media to get even more help. And then it was the next week that the FBI got involved. And then we were both back down there. We were all down there.
Right.
That week of the 15th. But it comes to a point where we need the evidence and we need the pressure on Brenner because we know he's involved. And we need to find out what happened out there and bring Dylan home. You are not going to go out there as a YouTuber trying to make money off of Dylan's case and just walk over top of him. We have been there.
Right.
So we are trying to actively get more help. Twila's helping more. She's been dealing with the FBI for us, helping. We're trying to get the technology we need, the support we need, the backup, because me and Justin aren't going to walk out there and find Dylan. We already tried to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys did it quite a bit in the beginning. And like I said, again, you can only search so much in those areas. And, you know, like you said, if there is a hair or a fiber or a piece of item, you know, something that you can't see, and that's there that could be collected. And, you know, the chances are, you know, Box Elder, they're not out there doing what they're supposed to do, but we hope and we pray that if someone did get the case, like if you are successful in getting the state of Utah to have some oversight in the case, or perhaps them leading it off and giving it to the FBI, now they can go out there and they can try to find stuff that's not visible to the naked eye and collect that and use it as evidence. That's what you're holding on to, slivers of hope. And these are small chances that they're 3 months later that there's still evidence there. Let's be real. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. The chances of that are pretty low. But at this point, you're talking about your son. So
yeah, we're not letting go of any hope. We are holding on to every single piece we have. And that's why we're not out. I mean, like I said, we did it. We did it.
I got Twila waiting. I hate that she's been sitting there for 15 minutes. I love Twila. She has a heart of gold. She's been helping you out. But we are going to circle back because I want to ask a couple of questions about some little bit further on investigation stuff. And I know I already know kind of the answers to it, but I think we need to talk about it. Twila Cisco, search coordinator for EquiSearch Midwest. Thank you for patiently waiting. How are you, Twila?
I'm great. How are you? How are you, Miss Candice?
I'm hanging in there. How are you, Twila?
I'm good. And DutyRon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. So for those of you in the chat that don't know Twila Cisco, she's the search coordinator for EquiSearch Midwest. And early on in Dylan Round's case, she was taxed with doing some drone stuff for the family. She went out there. Well, she didn't go out there. They sent the drone operator out there and did some stuff. And Twila, you know, I want you to talk a little bit about the complex moving parts when you have multiple agencies, and this is on the border of Nevada and Utah, and you have two different authorities, and then you have a third with the feds. When you got the feds, state, and local, it's a difficult situation to talk about coordinating searches, and you know, now you have military airspace that you have to deal with. Talk a little bit about what your guys experienced when you were flying out there.
Yes. So when we first got involved with this, I truly don't know how Candice and Justin, I don't even see how they were doing it, because it took time and it took effort. And this woman right here, to get us in. And I mean, there was one night, I believe it was almost midnight, and she was doing so much to try to get things rolling. And then it was a lot. I will tell you that, trying to get with all the agencies to get the approval, you know, so that we could go in and do what we're doing. And I also want to mention, you know, when they think that she's not doing anything as far as putting out flyers and stuff like that, 2 weeks ago, I was on the phone with her on a Friday afternoon for quite a while. She wasn't out at no restaurant. She wasn't out at no games for her other kids. None of that. she was on the phone with me, and I could feel the pain. I could feel the pain through the phone from her and her frustration. And I'm not kidding you. When I got off the phone with her, I literally sat down and I started crying. And I'm like, what more can I do to help this lady? I mean, we do have some stuff that's in the works, and we hope that it's going to work out to where we can do what we want to do. And I'm like, you know what? I told Lieutenant Fisher the other day, I'm like this close to coming to Utah myself. But the drone images that we have went over, I'm telling you, there's been a lot of them, and the area is so big. I truly feel in my heart that somebody 100% knows where Dylan is. I mean, they have to, because just from what I seen with the drone images, there's no way that kid walked out of there. There's absolutely no way that kid walked out of there on his own. Somebody did something to Dylan. And this mom right here, I can guarantee you, she's not going to stop. She's going to take her last breath trying to find her son. I feel bad for her, because it seems like every time she gets going on a good path, it's like something gets thrown in her way. But I'm telling you, she's not going to give up. And I feel her pain, and I'm like, what more can I do? I want to go out there, and I want to put my feet on that ground and just do whatever I possibly can do for this lady, because she's been through so much. I don't even see how she can still hold her head up. I don't know how she sleeps at night, because I couldn't do it. I would have done, there's no telling what would have done happened to me. But there's so much to it. To be honest with you, I think this is the only case that I've ever had like this, where there is so much to it that it's just like, oh my gosh, where's this child at? Where is he at? You know, it's crazy. It's most definitely crazy. But like she said, she did put me in contact with somebody with the FBI, and hopefully that ball will get to rolling, and hopefully that'll give us some more answers and some more something good for her. You know what I mean? I just don't see how she's doing it.
Yeah, and that's all we got to hope for, is just that one little piece, and everybody's talking about, Brenner this and Wadsworth this and this one. Listen, we already said that I feel strongly that there's a handful of people that have knowledge of what happened to Dylan. These guys speak to each other. They talk about this stuff, and this was not something that was done just by Brenner alone. And I feel strongly about that. But we got to leave it to the investigative authorities to come up with all the pieces of the puzzle that's needed to make a lawful arrest and charge Jim Brenner with the demise of what happened to Dylan Rounds, with his murder, if that in fact is the case. And I apologize, Candice, for using that language, but I know that you.
I understand. I mean, I get it. Yeah. I don't like to believe it, and I still got my hope, and I'm going to keep hanging on to that. But I mean, for me, a charge isn't enough. I need Dylan. We need Dylan home.
Yeah.
We need Dylan.
100%.
100%.
And that's where Lost is Not Alone comes into play here. And, folks are saying there should be more done. They should be digging up all over the place. They should be doing this. People still to this day send me messages. Did Candice and the family dig up that dirt mound where the shoes were found? And did they dig underneath it? Like, listen, if that ground and earth was moved, and as people are saying, well, Dylan was buried underneath there, if that in fact was the case, and I apologize for using this language.
No,
it would be clear and apparent if that earth was moved. And Twila, you know this better than anything. Candice, go ahead.
So they did go through that, but I'll tell you, in the early days, Justin has a good friend, and he went out with his friend, and they're both farmers, and they dug into it to see, like, I mean, the dirt on the top obviously hadn't been disturbed, but they went through it before law enforcement did. And when the whole thing, when you got roots of weeds that are down in the dirt over the whole thing that hasn't been disturbed, that didn't grow in 2 days. Mm-hmm. You may not be able to see, like, you can't really see on the picture, because like I said, at that point we weren't really, thinking what we were taking pictures of, but there were weeds all over it, and there was no disturbance. And yes, law enforcement has been through it, and there's other stuff that we know that we can't release, that the boots were just behind the dirt pile, and there's nothing else. Now that we know what we know, that even leads you to want to look in the dirt pile. I'll just put it that way.
Gotcha. And people even have conversations like, oh, was, you know, the ground underneath Dylan's camper that was there, was that looked at, was that, you know, gone through? Did anybody move the camper and look underneath it? And I didn't have an answer to that, and I don't know if you have an answer to that.
So that's what Twila's working on with the agent, and I've been in touch with everybody and Justin, and we all know what's going on, getting the ground penetrating stuff out there. But realistically, who's going to crawl under a camper that only has 1.5 feet of clearance and dig a grave?
Right.
It's not even humanly possible.
Right.
So you know, it's stuff like that it's like, if somebody thinks about it, and we love I mean, trust me, I still answer almost everybody. I get the text messages off of Facebook Messenger that you can decide whether to answer or not. And there are people who come out with theories like, you know, everybody keeps saying adventures with a purpose. There's one little tiny pond out there. It has been covered inch by inch. There is no other water.
And they search for vehicles inside water. I don't think we're looking at a vehicle.
No, that pond, what people got to understand is the one little body of water that's out there is a natural spring of fresh water, and it's literally a pond.
Yeah.
It's a pond. You're not going to dump a vehicle in it, period. You can't do it. It's not even deep enough to make the vehicle sink.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's good to have these conversations because it is redundant, and this is what's happening, and people are asking these questions. Candice, what was the result of that? The week or so ago, they went out and did that search warrant at the Brenner squatting or his camper. How did that come about? Was that from information that came from some YouTuber, or was that from?
No,
can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we had been from, I don't know, I think week number 2, talking about Brenner's property in Nevada. Both Justin and I knew about it, knew his, you know, shack had been burnt down. We knew all about it. Elko got a request to execute a search warrant from Box Elder. I don't have the exact date on that. I don't have because I was never made aware of it. We were never made aware of it.
Right.
Elko did decline that search warrant and started working on their own. And then that Friday they went out. Let me pull up my calendar. What Friday was that? 2 Fridays ago, or that Monday they went out. So that Friday, I believe the 12th, that's when Lieutenant Fisher called me and we were talking, and he says we should have it signed. He called me exactly 7:22 that night. He said the warrant's signed. We will be executing it Monday.
Right. We
had been working on this property, but Elko wanted to make sure that they had probable cause and make sure everything was stick if there was something out there. The search warrant that Box Elder County sent over did not have probable cause, and so Elko declined it. So no, it had nothing to do with these guys out there filming it or the shovel with the freshly disturbed dirt. That was all. That was something they concocted. That was not true. That they had to take the shovel out there. I'm sorry, I will call a spade a spade. Elko was out there. They had, oh my goodness, they went out in full force. They went out, and Box Elder did a system, and they weren't leaving anything unturned when they went out there, and there was absolutely nothing.
And they Elko reported that to you?
Yeah, and then they did a press release on it.
Oh, okay.
Elko did. Box Elder never did a press release saying, "Hey, we went and assisted on this warrant."
Yeah, I saw that. Yep, I saw that in the news coverage. I think Marco.
Only reason I knew that search warrant was being executed or even existed was from Elko.
Yeah.
And Lieutenant Fisher is, let me tell you, he is the absolute best.
Yep.
When I talk to that man on the phone, you can feel he thinks of Dylan as if it's his own child, and that man has been absolutely amazing, 100%.
Yeah, the whole Elko County department has been. Once I sat down with him on June 10th, we got the air cleared from what I was being told. If I call and they don't answer, same with our agent. I mean, it's within minutes. Or if I send a text just to ask a simple question like, "Hey, did you know about the?" It's never a text message back. It's always an instant phone call. And I mean instant. They are all right there and will walk me through like, well, this is why we're not looking at this, or we're going to look into this, or we'll call this person that, I sift through so much stuff that I get. And last night was an example. I got some information that I thought, I just felt something told me, I know this probably isn't going to come of anything, but I just need to get this out. And I called and I turned it in, and the agent was right on it. And it was all,
That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be.
Same thing with us. We get tips. We get information. I've been getting them to my personal cell phone, and I get them to Fisher like immediately. And let me tell you, he's on it like white on rice. And I'm like, this guy's so amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
he,
Lieutenant
that whole,
Fisher's unbelievable. Yeah, he's an unbelievable guy. Hey, listen, can I play this thing about the search warrant? It's a piece that Marcos did. It does include some of these, people that you're mentioning
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Did they bring the dogs out, cadaver dogs, to that location? So
yeah, and that was all announced in their press release.
okay. Yeah. So that's confirmed. They definitely brought out cadaver dogs and cleared that. And I would imagine that they brought the ground penetrating sonar there too.
Yeah, they had everything. They had, I can't even pronounce half the words they put in that they took out there. So yeah, they did. Like I said, they went in full force. They were fully prepared to clear that.
All right, this is only 2 minutes, and again, this includes some footage from some of the people that you just mentioned in the recent past here on YouTube. So I'm going to let this play. This is the Elko as they execute the search warrant. There's going to be some footage of them driving by and things of that nature, and we just spoke about it, so it's pertaining to this. Okay.
James Brenner. Authorities in Nevada executed a search warrant on James Brenner's property. What the probable cause remains unknown, but what's clear is that it's getting a lot of attention.
I knew it was going to happen. I didn't release it because we didn't want, law enforcement bombarded.
Dylan Rounds disappeared in late May. Weeks later, James Brenner was named the suspect in his disappearance. The search today is on Brenner's property near Montello, Nevada.
It's on James Brenner's property. So it was a property that he had that the little shack that he lived in burnt down. And I knew he had the property. Dylan told me the story about his shack burning down.
Brenner remains in the Weber County Jail on a weapons charge and assaulting someone.
The feds, the sheriffs, and the detectives are in Montello right now. They're in Montello right now with their cadaver dogs.
At one time, Brenner worked on Dylan's farm outside of Lucin in Box Elder County. And after Dylan vanished, authorities found Brenner squatting on the 19-year-old's property.
I'm hearing on social media, somebody threw something on social media, cadaver dogs. Have you heard anything like that?
I know Elko was showing up in full force. They were not going to leave any stone unturned. So I'm sure they've got their dog teams out there. They're going to go out there and they're going to wipe that place clean. And then we can either have more questions or have evidence, or we can completely wipe it off our slate.
Just a short while ago, Candice Cooley confirmed cadaver dogs were used, but there wasn't anything found. She says Elko County's quick response is one reason why she wants someone else besides Box Elder County to investigate the disappearance of her son. That story.
So there you have it. Thank you for letting me play that. I thought that was important for the folks outside the country to see that. And again, this is just checking off another check in the investigation. And it's not courtesy of Box Elder, it's courtesy of Elko. So I think that this is a good thing because you have to eliminate all of these possibilities. And the only way you eliminate them is when you get to fully check them off and you make sure that, all bases are covered in all these different areas. So I think that was important to show that. But we did speak about it. Talk about the possibilities here. Like, what have you done to get the ball rolling to make that official request? Was there a letter that you wrote? Was it an official statement through an attorney? Can you just tell the listening audience what you and your family did to get this going?
So we did a cover letter asking them, to relinquish lead. There's a lot of failed steps. I mean, finally, when Dylan's
for missing.
Sorry about that.
When Dylan's report on NamUs came out, so that was July 28th, as near as I can tell. I'm not sure how their system fully works, but that's what it looked like to me. But they didn't put them in any of the other national databases. There's a whole bunch. I'll be honest, my mom helped me get through a bunch of the state statutes because I just don't have time to focus on them. So we just put together a formal letter and stated our reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have been keeping a timeline, 100% timeline of everything and what's happened. And I sent them that timeline, and, you know, 2 full pages, no double space, no nothing, just bullets. I finally had to stop and tell myself, like, is this not enough? Like, why do I got to keep going? And, you know, there has been some things, there's been some things that we've had to stop back and rethink about. You know, originally I was thinking the first search warrant was June 18th. And then I had to look at my calendar. It was actually the 16th.
Right.
When we got the call that Dylan was being held hostage, and Justin and I talked about this today, and I called 911 and Elko had no clue about it. Well, there was one of the officers that told Justin he had talked to Blower, but, you know, it's this more recent communication. You know, nobody else knew, but I guess one of the guys did. So maybe Box Elder did make a call. I don't know. But what I was told and what I'm going off of is what the officer told me. We had no clue your son was even missing. So there's been a few little tiny, we're not perfect, and we're going through the most traumatic thing anybody can go through in their life, losing a child, having a lost child. I don't think there's anything else more traumatic a person could ever go through. So you're not going to be perfect. But in this request, everything is time-based. It's factual. It's just, you know, just turn it over. And I don't even care if it's turn it over. I mean, frankly, I mean, stop declining the help. They declined the state of Idaho help. They declined the help from Utah or from Elko. Box Elder has declined offer after offer of help.
Right. It doesn't make sense, because the more the merrier. The more manpower you have, the better off you'll be. No one sent in a super chat. We already covered it. Did they dig under the pile, you know, near the boots? Yes. We talked about that. But thank you so much for the super chat. You know, the more manpower, the better. Getting back to what we were saying, and it's just counterproductive to say, oh, we don't need the help. If they're a large department and they have huge amounts of resources, then you know, NYPD, a lot of times we turn down help from other agencies. We actually give the help to other agencies, send helicopters, send, you know, scuba teams, send you know, mounted unit. We have everything. But, you know, when you have a small department, you should open up your arms to any and all help. And when the FBI is there sitting in the wings with the resources that they have, unlimited budget, unbelievable crime scene lab, their forensics team and their forensics investigators are top notch. They know their shit. And to not have them involved full force is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's but I don't get it. I don't understand it. And maybe we'll get some sort of clarification. Meeting with them on Monday, possibly. You know, like I said, they've at least extended that olive branch. So to me, that's the start of moving forward. We have got to move forward somehow. We've got to. Everybody needs to get together that's been involved in their case, from law enforcement agency to the family. All of us that were there the first day on the scene, everybody needs to sit down and be like, okay, we're at a stall. We're at a, you know, what are some of the pieces and parts that could have been missed because nobody was interviewed? Yeah. You know, let's not sit and scream and yell. And as much as I want to, don't get me wrong, but I am looking at moving forward towards finding our son. That is what we are focused on, and that's what we want. And I'm hoping. I hope it gets accomplished on Monday.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to get to the user-generated questions that came into DutyRon.com. There was a lot of redundancy in the questions, and we covered a lot of them here just in this live stream. But Danielle sent in a really good question right there. She said, can Candice clarify, did Dylan call Grandma or did Grandma call Dylan? That's a good one. Can you clarify that?
So from what I know, Dylan called Grandma. That's what the phone records show. I've seen Dylan's phone records. Dylan called Grandma.
And that's what Grandma verbally said to the family, right?
And we have that ping. So we have that ping on his phone. So my question is, I don't know, say grandma called Dylan, he called her back, whatever, vice versa. The ping is exactly at 6:51. The phone calls at 6:51. It was at his farm. So who called who is of no relevance. The fact of the matter is that was the last communication anybody had with Dylan.
Yeah.
And we know where the communication generated from. So whether or not, like I said, as far as I know, and I've seen Dylan's phone records, Dylan called grandma, but that's of no relevance. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I'm just saying it doesn't matter because we know where his phone pinged. We know exactly where he was at that specific moment when he talked to grandma.
And that's what's important.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Cindy sends in to the website a question for you. She says, and I'm leaving out the last names here, just Cindy. Yeah. She says, Candice, why was Kurt Wadsworth and others out filming on Dylan's farm, walking, touching, and is Kurt and law enforcement in cahoots? That's a double question. Okay. What's your thoughts on that one?
Why he was out there is because this is my opinion. The family has absolutely not asked him to be out there. We don't want him out there. We're going to start pressing trespassing charges.
Did he have permission to be out there?
Absolutely not.
From you or from Justin?
Nope. Everybody. Well, and here is the thing. Justin and I can't give permission for people to be out there. That was Dylan and his grandfather's farm. Our names aren't on it.
So the grandfather and Dylan are the only ones, and
correct.
Nobody's
and absolutely did not give permission. The people that have went on the property where Brenner was squatting, somebody leaked a letter we sent to law enforcement, and it was from the person who owned that property that said anybody looking for Dylan Rounds, trying to assist in the aid of finding Dylan Rounds, has access to the property. It was meant for law enforcement. It got leaked, and that's what these people are using is, well, he says we can be on it, and we're working on retracting that through a couple different ways so we don't blast this person out, you know. But yeah, this is all been on their own accord to say they're out there looking for Dylan. I am sorry, filming Dylan's farm, filming where the shed was, filming the inside of the shed. That's not looking for Dylan. You're not looking. Dylan is not in that shed. Trust us. We've been through it. That is making money off of our son's disappearance. And I can't stand it. I hate it.
So no one has received permission from you or Justin because, first of all, you legally can't give the permission.
Correct.
And secondly, you do not condone anybody going out to any of the parts, whether it's where the grain truck was left or anything of that nature. All right, I'm glad we cleared that up. So people are saying the grain shed is not on Larry Round's.
Correct. So Dylan and Larry had 640 acres together. And then 5 miles back is where the grain shed was located. And this is this other individual's property. That's where Dylan was going. That's where Dylan originally started breaking ground. That's what the first piece he was originally going to buy. But he couldn't get the water rights. And that's why he went to the other piece. So no, that is not Larry's property. And it was not Dylan's property, is not Dylan's property. That is another individual's who gave law enforcement what was a letter meant for law enforcement only, permission to be on it, that has since been blasted and everybody's using it as public. He says anybody searching for Dylan. So, and like I said, we're just trying to hang on to it. Maybe there's something there. Like, I don't know why people can't respect that. There could be something there that is so disrespectful to a family who's in this position that you disregard the wishes of the family. And then you try to say it's because we're looking for their son. No.
Yeah.
No.
And I'm going to tell you what can happen because I've seen it one too many times. You get people out there that wants to search that doesn't know what they're doing, and they go out there on this property thinking that they're helping the case. They're not helping nothing by putting it on YouTube. And if somebody with fresh eyes with law enforcement, a search team, the family or something goes over there and finds something, a cigarette butt or anything that could be of importance of Dylan that could have been messed in the beginning, These people are going over there, and they could possibly be putting themselves in the middle, right smack dead in the middle of a crime scene. Somebody's going to go over there. Then if this case starts over with all new investigators or whatever, guess what? Anybody that's been on that property other than the family and law enforcement or the search teams that's supposed to be there, those people are going to be wrapped up in the crime scenes. I'm telling you right now, it happens all the time. It's not doing any good to go over there. If you're putting videos on YouTube while you're searching, you're not searching. You are absolutely not searching, because if you're searching, your mind 100% is focused on what you're going for, and that's that person missing. You don't have any other time for any other kind of distractions or nothing like that. Somebody's going to end up in jail because they keep going over there prowling and prowling and prowling, and then when Candice and Justin go and start pressing charges, they're going to be butthurt. But technically, they're over there on private property, and they're going to get themselves wrapped up in a crime scene. And who knows? They could be the one charged for doing whatever is done to Dylan. Nobody knows who did it. So whoever puts their foot on that property that's not supposed to be there, they're going to end up in jail.
Yes. And thank you for that, Twila. That's a great explanation. Like I said, you're not looking for Dylan when you're videoing his camper tractor or his fuel tank. That's not looking for Dylan. Dylan is clearly not sitting next to his tractor or where his fuel. You never see these people out in and that desert is so vast, and it's so exhausting out there to search. The Dylan is not anywhere near either one of the two private pieces of private property that these people keep going on saying, oh, we're looking for Dylan. No, you're not.
Yeah, and again, looking and searching requires 100% attention. And Twila knows this better than anybody, because she's the search coordinator for EquiSearch Midwest. They're out there searching for the missing on a regular basis, on foot. I have video of Twila, for educational purposes, her and her team out there, how to search safely for the missing. And let me tell you, man, these folks, they don't mess around. And all eyes are on the terrain that they're searching. You're not paying attention to anything else. And thank you for sending me those clips. That was during the Summer Wells search, and she had someone just show the thickness of the brush that they were searching through for our little Summer Wells in East Tennessee. But again, I want to say thank you to everybody for all the questions. I mean, I have 2 sheets of kind of redundant questions, and Candice, we covered almost all of it. And I know that I promised you an hour, and here we are, an hour and 17 in. Is there anything else that you might want to put out in regards to, like there's a lot of people that are hopped up because some folks think that, they're doing good. And I think you guys have laid out between you and Twila, and I concur with what you guys are saying, is because it's sometimes when people think that they're helping, they're inadvertently not helping. So I think Twila, you put it really well, and I thank you for that. Candice, do you have anything else that you want to put out in regards to anything that's sticking in your mind on the case?
Awareness. We need awareness out there. We are getting ready to start. We got through Dylan's birthday and we did the seeds, and we're starting to work on bracelets and car freshies for justice for Dylan. We are going to continue mailing stuff and keeping people and awareness for all kids. I mean, this is my son, so this to me is just a nightmare. But there's a lot of other parents going through this, and a lot of people, they don't know how to have a voice. They don't know where to turn. They don't know where to start. Just for everybody who's going through this with me, other parents, I've been in contact with tons of them. Just awareness, and the positivity and the keeping it out there. And if you feel you're not getting the help from law enforcement that you believe you should get, don't be scared to scream. Don't be scared of them. You're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
Your child, your loved one, whoever it is, you go get them. You stand up tall and you go get the help that you need, however you feel you need to do it. Because I have an amazing support group, and Dylan has a worldwide family now. I can't tell you the stuff that I have been mailed, the sunflower different stuff, the farming stuff, the stuff in the people in the local community have brought me. I have a whole shrine I'm going to eventually share when I buy a big enough shelf to get it all on. He's touched the world, and I hope it gives some more parents out there some hope if they're struggling. That's where I look at, let's bring a whole community of people. Let's bring our kids home. To me, mine's my focus, but I know there's other people going through the same thing, and it's so horrible.
Amen to that. And I feel that everybody that has good intentions should get around you and other families who are going through this. And as we spoke about with Mike King last time, you guys were all on together, 100,000 new cases of missing people will be active in the coming year. 100,000 new, fresh Dillon rounds. That's a earth-shattering figure. And
every single day, there's multiple people that go missing. And I cannot tell you how many, just the other day, 25 minutes from me, there was somebody that was kidnapped in the little area down the road from me. And AquaSearch, we've been so busy. We've made 3 recoveries within the last 2 weeks. 2 of the recoveries was done within 3 days, and we've still got cases that are coming in. And if people out there in the world want to help, continue to pray, continue to share his flyers, share Candice's story, and continue to keep his name as well as all these other missing people's names and faces out there, because that's what you can do to help, besides illegally going over and putting videos from private property and his personal stuff on Facebook for this mother to have to see this over and over and over, and knowing that her son's not there. Put his picture out there and let her see that, and see that people care that way.
Right. I agree. And Twila, people have to realize there's real people behind these missing person cases. Candice is living proof of it, and they need the support, the encouragement, the prayers, the backup. They want to know that people got their backs, not people trying to stab them in the back. And that's a problem that I see, is that a lot of people jump on the bandwagon and it'd be like, oh, well, she has this and she did that, or he did this and he did that. What does that have to do with finding this missing person? It has nothing to do with it. So the bottom line, Twila, you said it so well, and I know Pete Pranzo is in the chat. He's a retired lieutenant. Us good law enforcement officers and men and women in the trade that really care, and by seeing Lieutenant Fishers, and the Lieutenant Fishers are out there. I'm one of them. I really care about people, and I want to see support, and the support comes from here, from in the heart. And Twila, you've got a big heart. Dave Rader does. I was on the phone with him today. I talked to you. We speak all the time. And what do we speak about? Missing people. I talk to Candice on a regular basis, and we're talking about her son. So the bottom line is there's good and bad in everything, and you got to take the good with the bad. There's people out there, talking about bad information, and bad information gets transmitted to the police and gets transmitted to the people who are taxed with doing the investigation, and that takes them off of the real stuff. So we hear, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson and all of these other law enforcement agencies, Harmony Montgomery's guy, the police chief over there, said, stop bogging us down with these, I have a vision, I have a dream, I heard, I saw something, I saw a vision that this person is here and there. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for real solid evidence. So there's a $100,000 reward for the, is it Candice, is for the information leading to Dillon or leading to the arrest? I know you were working on that.
So we've still got it right now with the bringing Dillon home or the who did it and the arrest and prosecution. We've kind of went back and forth if we were going to, change the wording, but I believe we're pretty much covered. But we're still working through that. We just want people to realize that this reward is not asking you to go out to private property. That's covered. This is asking like information, anything that is true, anything like, don't think you're going to tell us to search the grain truck again. That's been empty for 2 months now.
So
and
the $100,000 reward is for information that leads to the recovery of your son, or whoever
prosecution.
responds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm sure you guys will work that out. And yeah, again, I want to thank you for taking out the time, an hour and 30 minutes. To all the folks who sent in super chats and their questions, it's tough for me to get to answers to all these super chats because they run by and then all of a sudden they're off the screen. So, folks, again, you have to realize this is a family that's in a difficult situation. They don't have answers to the questions that they want answered because, as you said, Candice, if you put the shoe on the other foot, this is something you don't wish on your worst enemy. The people who you hate the most in this world, you wouldn't want to wish this on them. So I thank you for coming on and giving us updates. If you can, when things, when you have this meeting or if anything comes of it, just, maybe in the future, you would consider coming back. Twila, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all the good work you and EquiSearch Midwest does. We need a gazillion Midwest EquiSearches, Adventures with Purpose just helped recover Kylie Rodney over in California, and it was just an amazing job that they did. So groups like that, I tip my cap to them. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who need their help, and it's just, we're only human beings. We can only be in one place at one time. So thank you. Candice, any final parting words for the group?
Nope, we just keep awareness, and I will absolutely update when we have our meeting and hopefully find a new path to get Dylan.
Excellent.
I will. I blew it up in the public, and I will absolutely keep the public updated. They deserve to know what's going on. Like I said, he's got a whole world out there rallying behind him, and we will keep updates going.
Right. Absolutely. And we thank you for that, for taking out the time. When you speak to Dylan's dad, Justin, tell him that we're all rooting for him as well and his side of the family. Anytime that anything can be put out or that needs to be put out, we're just a phone call away. And Twila, thank you for taking out your time on a Thursday night. Guys, as I always like to end these, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially the victims of crime and their family. Dylan and his family, they need us now more than ever. Let's send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Peace from New York. And ladies, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.